Mark P. Otten back with you. All right, this is your introduction to two-way ANCOVA, or analysis of covariance. Now there's various two-way ANOVAs that you can do, right? There's independent samples, dependent samples, there's a mixed version. I'm just going to take you through a quick example for an independent samples ANCOVA with two independent variables, just to keep it as simple as I can as I go forward and introduce you to what this looks like. The simplest way to think about it is just, well, you're going to do a two-way ANOVA, and each time you get an effect, main effect 1, main effect 2 interaction, you're going to say the same thing you normally would for an ANOVA, but then at the end you add while controlling for the covariate, whatever it is. So each one then allows you to control for an additional independent variable that you think might be influencing the situation. So for this particular example, I've got another silly example. Man, my examples are just silly sometimes. Anyway, this one, first of all, I'm presuming that there are only two gender denominations here, but we have males and females in this case. Obviously, that is not always the case, but we have client gender and we have therapist gender. Those are our two independent variables, and we're looking at number of therapy sessions across 10 weeks. And so we've got a two-way or two independent variable situation. And different participants in each condition, so independent samples. So here's your data with means in there. You can do a two-way ANOVA on this. I'm just going to jump to the two-way ANCOVA. What is our covariate? Our covariate is depression score. And so you've got your depression scores in there in blue, and those are going to correspond. So the first participant there is a male client scoring 8 on number of therapy sessions across 10 weeks. And scoring 6 on, let's say, the Beck Depression Inventory or one of these depression scales. So those correspond. The last participant seems to be the one scoring highest on the depression inventory, and they also have, that's 31 sessions and 39 on the depression inventory. So we can stare at this and try to detect patterns before we do the analysis, or we can just do the analysis, and so that's what we'll do in SPSS here in a second. And like I said, you just rephrase each one, and the simplest way I can think of to do this in the two-way ANOVA case or two-way ANCOVA case is to just say while controlling for the covariate at the end. So an interaction result in this case could be that when the therapist is male, males and females have the same number of sessions. When the therapist is female, females attend more sessions. That would be an interaction in this case. And then if that's all true while controlling for depression scores, then you have an ANCOVA two-way conclusion, or a two-way ANCOVA interaction effect. So let's look at this in SPSS. Okay, so here's the setup with the data in SPSS. These first 3 columns, this would be like the typical setup for a two-way independent samples ANOVA. So your two independent variables there, client gender and therapist gender, are coded as 1s and 2s depending on which gender you're referring to. And so like this first person here is a male client with a male therapist and 8 sessions attended. And if you just looked at those first 3 columns, you could run a two-way ANOVA. In this case, I'm not going to, because you can refer back to the two-way ANOVA video for details on how to do that. It's very similar though, because in this case we're going to do it. We're just going to add in that covariate. The covariate is depression score in this case. So this is your covariate. It's just an additional column in your data set. So let's see how it looks. So like I said, it's similar to what you would do for a two-way ANOVA. You're going to go to Analyze, General Linear Model, and Univariate, since this is an independent samples case. We're going to move our independent variables over to fixed factors. So you got client gender, you got therapist gender, dependent variables sessions. If I did this, it would be a two-way ANOVA, but I'm going to skip to the two-way ANCOVA because that's why we're here. Depression score is going to go into the covariate slot. Pretty straightforward actually in SPSS, just gives you that slot. It's going to treat it as a covariate, and we're going to enjoy the results. All right, so I hit OK. Where did it go? Where is it? Where's my output? Okay, yeah, there it is. Okay. Here we go. Output screen was hiding. All right, so we've got some effects here, it looks like, at least a couple. We've got client gender, first of all, p less than 0.001. Client gender is a significant main effect while controlling for depression scores. Therapist gender, however, is not 0.072. That's close, but it's there. So the therapist gender main effect is not significant, although close. And then the client gender, therapist gender interaction is significant, 0.002. So you've got an interaction, you've got a client gender main effect, and you've got no significant therapist gender main effect, all while controlling for depression score. So yeah, you can make that conclusion in context. If you do the two-way ANOVA without the covariate, you can see if the covariate has an effect before and after, or you can just hypothesize straight out that you want to control for depression scores in this case. The supplemental result is depression score and its direct effect on the dependent variable, and so you've actually got a significant one there as well, 0.019. Depression score is significantly influencing the dependent variable here directly as well. So for further interpretation, you go back to the means of each section of the chart, let's say, and look at the independent variables again and try to detect any, in this case, if there's a change from your ANOVA results to your ANCOVA results, you go back and try to check for a relationship between depression score and each independent variable. But I'm trying to keep this simple, so I'm just going to show you this and let you proceed from here with your two-way ANCOVA. Good luck.